All right, so we will call the meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. We have...
You want to give Dan a couple of minutes? Or?
Well, we'll just get this over with.
All right, well, let's keep going then.
Yeah, we have Joanne DiCamillo, Evan Griswold, and Tim Griswold present, and we're expecting Dan Montano. Some people out in the lobby.
People in the lobby are here. They live on Ferry Road.
The first matter is to review the minutes of the March 14th meeting, which I think have been previously distributed. Have you had a chance to look at those?
I wasn't here, so I don't know that I can...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you abstain, I guess.
Yeah.
We had the old business talking about the bids and both for the single bid for the concrete work and 4 bids for the tree. Mm-hmm. And then we got into the discussion about Kelowna, which Wade Thomas, our engineer, said is a very, very good company. He's worked with them in 3 different communities.
Sidewalk. For the sidewalk. Construction,
Yeah, he's worked with them on 3 or 4 different projects previously. We talked about the...
There he is.
Hey, Evan.
Dan.
Yeah, we got the machine going here.
Okay.
We're just reviewing the minutes. If you want to move to the side, yeah. And so, after hearing more about Kelowna, our sidewalk contractor, very good reviews by Wade Thomas, our engineer. We then talked about Affordable Tree Experts of Killingworth. Their bid was substantially lower than all the others, and so we told them to proceed on March 14th. Those trees have been since removed, the 3. We looked at the budget and commented that if everything was in the budget, we might be shy on funds to do everything. So we were going through to look at ways to economize. We got rid of the alternate one, which was the drainage on Lieutenant River Lane. Mr. Adante indicated that that is not a particular problem, so that we decided to reduce and worked on some other things. And so we were discussing concessions from the engineer, who's done a lot of work. So he was in agreement that he would probably be open to a reasonable reduction. And then the Bartlett tree, where the minutes reflect we were concerned about some of the extraneous things there, that we might have some additional economy there. So that's about the minutes.
Yeah.
So do you have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 14th, 2024, as written.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain.
Yeah, Evan, you were absent. All right. I don't have any I don't have any communications. We just approved minutes, so we're getting to public comment. Did you wish to say anything yourself?
Gosh, no, thank you.
Okay.
I think it's just more in...
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
No,
Good. Well, thanks for being here. All right, to the old business, the trees were removed very efficiently. I think it was a 1-day job, and the 3 were taken away and cleaned up and went very well.
Norway maple and
2 Zelkovas.
2 Zelkovas and a Norway maple?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
so, yeah,
Good.
yep.
And just out of curiosity, sorry to interrupt, the 2 tulip trees, and I'm not invested in them, outside Stanley's house, just 100 feet from where we were standing, or they're
Sure.
kind of craggly. Are they staying or going?
I don't believe they're slated for removal.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
We had 3 of them, which were the 2 Zelkovas as you proceed toward Lieutenant River Lane, and the 3rd one stayed. And then there was another maple that was taken out, which was an old one at the border of the McClave property and the Lawrence property, up closer to the Congregational Church.
Did you mean the cherry trees? You said tulip. At the curb, the flowering
The blooming
cherry?
ones?
They're sort of short and
Gnarly?
gnarly. Stanley.
No, those are cherries, and they will be removed.
Oh, cherries.
Yeah,
Oh, they will be removed.
yeah, the big pink flowers right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, those are small enough that our public works guys can
Oh,
do
I was
that.
wondering why they weren't. Yeah. Again, I'm not one of the people that were wigging out about all.
Yeah.
You guys are saints for putting up with that.
Well, you'll hear
What's this one?
You'll hear more here. So that went well, and subsequent to all of that, there was a Norway maple number 4? Just next to the McClave big tree, and a delivery truck of some sort must have hit it because it was really impacted on the street side pretty high, so it had to be a box truck or something.
Oh.
So Tom looked at it, and underneath it looked like the wood was kind of dead, and so forth. So it was leaning anyway, quite more so than the other, and so he directed that be taken out. So that was done just
As in
very
Norway.
recently.
It's in Norway.
Yeah, right.
That's not part of the project. That tree was slated to remain, but because of that impact, it had to be removed.
I'm not sad about that.
No.
No, neither am I.
I mean, Norway maples is just, I think they should be removed wherever they're found.
Yeah.
It can be terribly invasive.
We'll get to it. So, okay, we had a meeting this morning with the contractor's representatives. It was Joe Michelangelo, who was the project engineer, and Rick Olmos, O-L-M-O-S, and he will be the site superintendent. 2 of them were here, along with the representative from Bartlett, Megan Kasich, and Joanna myself. So we met them near the town hall, the Lime Street side of the project, and walked down. With her, we really wanted to try to get as specific as possible about the tree, shaving tree, air excavation, preservation, all that sort of thing. So we looked at each one, and the first one is the hornbeam, which is a recently planted tree. It's a smallest tree. Megan pointed out that the roots are probably already going under the sidewalk panel, because how long ago was it planted?
I think 18.
So 6 years.
It's been 18.
But she was not overly concerned that as the sidewalk was by that tree, that it would be, it might be impacted, but not as strenuously as some of the others. Just so you know, the sidewalk panel should be about 5 inches thick. I thought they were 4, but 5. And in the ideal situation, the fill under that gravelly sort of stuff would be 8 inches. So that would be a 15-inch.
15-inch.
down. When they do the preparation, they ideally do about a foot on each side of it. So if it's a 4-foot panel, you might have a 6-foot digging so they have room to do what they're doing. We we said, well, when you get near the trees, we really want you to be as tight as possible, because 4 foot is a foot longer than the current sidewalk. So if we go now 2 more feet for digging, that we really have to be judicious as much as possible. So the next one was the Big Sugar Maple, just to the left side of the McClave driveway. There, the sidewalk will curve up toward McClave's little parking area with the Belgian blocks. He said it's going to be about 2 feet away from the blocks, which we said, well, maybe 1 foot would be, because, the farther the better it would seem. So, and then because his prints had the tree number 4, the one that had to be taken out that was hit by the truck, he said now that tree is gone, the walk could come back a little more rapidly after that tree than it was planned before. Megan will still be doing root shaving and so forth. With
air excavation,
that the McClave tree, as well as the one very close they have some rhododendron plants. It's away from the sidewalk, but she would still want to have excavation there, because the roots are, she says, 1.5 times the drip edge, which is, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So those and then you proceed from there. There is I think 2 Norways, one of which is behind the white fence that the Reeds put in, and the sidewalk is reasonably close to that, but the panels haven't checked. And I think she pointed out a couple of times, a couple of different trees, that the roots, if this is the tree, the roots, rather than going out like spokes, a couple of them wrap around. And she said that's bad, because it tends to strangle the tree.
Yeah, well, that's the problem of the planting, how it was planted. And
the roots weren't smoothed out.
The roots, those curlicue roots weren't taken out when it was planted, and that, so.
Yeah, that's what I told them,
And it's very exaggerated down where the Zelkova tree is.
It's really,
Yeah, and she said because the roots are so big, they could be 4 inches in diameter, they don't bond with the existing tree. It's just like a snake wrapping around the tree.
It's like having a bittersweet vine or a grapevine that does this and strangles the tree eventually.
Yep.
And it's not just in one area, it's in the front along the street.
Yeah. So the tree behind the fence we said maybe we could, since it's a reasonable run from McClave's border to where that tree is, the walk might drift a little bit to the left and give it a little more room, and then come back as needed. The next tree is a Norway again. The distance between the fence that he did move back to the property line and the tree trunk is probably 7 feet wide, and the panel and all that we're talking about to get it through there would likely do serious damage to the roots of it. And as such, she also noted that, that tree.
Oh, yeah.
She noted that the tree is fairly weighted toward the street. It's not just an even, like a champagne glass or something. Hi. So the thought there is that since it's got a lot of weight, if you had to do the root shaving, pruning, etc., that would probably be a problem, because the weight of the tree leading into the street is such that if you diminish what's holding it, it's likely to fall.
Yeah.
So, in addition, if that tree were removed, it might enable the sidewalk to come a bit more toward the street and have it, instead of a boomerang type pattern, it would be a more gradual.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, could you just back up 1 minute as to which tree Robin was asking?
Well, the one I'm now talking about is really at the border of the Reed property and the Aird property.
The Reeds are the one that put the fence up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much at the end of their fence, the western end.
Oh, right. And it leans,
It does lean into
There's a
the
picture
street.
of it here.
Is that the one the truck hits?
There.
What?
Is that the
This
one
is-
the truck
This one. This is the Reed tree on their property.
Is that the one the truck hit?
oh, thank you so much.
No, that was at McClave's driveway, more or less. And that had to go. Yeah. So, Megan was really pushing that tree, it's just gonna be a trouble, because if it's so close to where the limit of the sidewalk is that, as I said, cutting or pruning or whatever on any of the roots to get the sidewalk in, it would further exacerbate this leaning tendency. And
It has no main leader, really, and and the bark is split on it as well.
Yeah, well, and I don't think those trees have a decent taproot to hold them in place, so that
Yeah.
in a windstorm or any ice or heavy snow.
yeah, and there's a phone pole across the street with a transformer, so there was concern that if something cut loose, it's not the best place to hit.
And it's in Norway as
Yeah.
well. And you were commenting that they're kind of invasive, they're
Well,
not...
they're non-native maples. I mean, we've got red maples and sugar maples, and the Norway maples are, they're pretty trees, but they cast a very deep shade, so relatively nothing grows under them. And they also produce a lot of offspring on a regular basis, more than
Helicopter.
yeah, the little samaras they're called, that come down like helicopters, and they have a very high reproductive rate. So a lot of people don't like them because they take over the lawn.
So the idea is to preemptively deal versus when it falls or damages or...
Yeah, it's sort of lopsided to the street. There may have been trimming over the years on the landowner's side, so it's kind of heavily that way.
Yeah, it's lopsided.
Megan,
That's what it is. It's lopsided.
Megan also said that you cannot buy a Norway maple now from a nursery. They're not allowed to sell them because they're this invasive type thing. So it's kind of a commentary.
I've seen them in nurseries.
That's what she said.
I know.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
But I've seen them.
So that tree should come down then?
Well, that's going to be the recommendation, and that'll mean a little missionary work with the abutters to see if they would be in agreement with that. Then we need the tree warden to look at it.
I spoke with him
Oh, did you?
this afternoon,
Oh,
and he will be in town this weekend,
Oh.
and he can post the tree.
does he agree with it? In concept?
Well, he has to look at it.
Yeah.
But I sent him this photo, and he remembers the tree, so whatever that means. But he said that he will need to post it 10 days waiting period, which is the standard time. And then if anyone opposes or asks for a public meeting, have to consider that as well. So sooner he does it, the better. The sooner
Yeah.
you notify everyone. You know, if
Okay.
you wait till next weekend, then it's postponed another few weeks.
Well, if he could work quickly, because,
So,
we...
but he would like you to do, contact the
Yeah.
homeowners, so
Yeah,
he can get busy.
well, he could do
We'll see
his
what
thing
happens.
without that. I mean...
Well, that's true.
but-
But
Yeah, we'll do it. So, then the last tree, the next tree is on Lieutenant River Lane, the Zelkova, and it has not checked the sidewalk as much as the others did, but it's tight in there, we know that, and so they'll do everything they can to they might even add fill to get the sidewalk a little higher than it is now, so you can minimize the impact of going down, because the other two had big roots that went under the sidewalk and into the Ames property. So these are not quite as apparent. That has that root girdling situation. But, we thought to leave at least one of them. Ideally that would have been removed too, but we thought it would not go down so well. Now that tree, if you stand facing the west and look at that tree a little bit away from Lieutenant River Lane, you can see that there's a sap running out of it, and you can see there's a natural crack where the left side of the tree, the street side of the tree, could separate from the rest of it. And so I asked her, I said, well, if there's a big windstorm or something, when trees are like that, they can just split easily. And she said, yeah, maybe.
If you have a tree with two branches that create an acute angle, it creates a pocket between the two branches, which fills with rainwater. And I don't know, I don't think it's sap, it's probably water. And you can either drill in there and put a little pipe and have a drain pipe, or you take one of the...
Well, this tree has 3 leaders coming off that side of the tree toward the street.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of foliage and weight and everything else.
And it also, we haven't had much freezing weather this winter, but you get the water in there and then and it freezes and it expands, and then you get this and this and this eventually.
And it's naturally weak because it's a lateral sort of thing. But, we'll do the best we can with that. And then at the little cherry trees will be removed, but we'll give them their last moment of glory with their blooming flowers.
Is that the Creek's house?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's so gorgeous right now. I mean, they look horrible.
I know they're singing their song loudly. It's nice. But they are, he tried to, I guess he had 3 people trying to do something with those, but unfortunately they're pretty runty, and so they're slated. And then on his lawn there's a maple, kind of a large maple, that I doubt...
Isn't it? It has a...
Silver, it's a silver.
Oh, a tree well?
Built around it with
Yeah, it's to the home side of the circle, of the sidewalk, so, but, it's a large tree, so undoubtedly...
Well, I think is that the house that was built?
Yeah, the newer one.
The newer one. And I think I remember it being that lawn had fill brought in, and so they had to build a tree well around to maintain.
I think that's further in.
That's further in.
That further in?
No,
Yeah, this
one is not. This one's right there. It's a silver maple.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Silver maple.
Oh, okay.
And the last tree is at the border with your property. It's an oak tree that's tangled up with a pole, receiving some wires and vines of all kinds.
It's awful looking.
There it is. Look how that went.
It would be nice if Krieg would say, I don't need that.
Don't quote me on it, but good luck with that.
I know. Well, I don't think
We already know that.
I don't think we're going to go there.
Yeah, we know.
So that's kind of a recap of the trees, and so I think the task at hand is to have Tom look at it. I'll try to speak to the 2 neighbors. as quickly as possible. Then, if they're in accord, then that's a help. And then if Tom agrees to post it, we can get that going, and then get the date set, because we're jumping ahead a little bit, but the project is likely to start around the 28th of May.
Great.
And so he thinks it might be roughly 3 weeks. We've heard as much as 4, we've heard as little as 2 weeks, but they're an outfit that moves quickly. It's not like they're going to waste a lot of time. So it would be good if they could go quickly. Now, Bartlett Tree, for these trees we've just talked about, what's going to happen is the first thing that the contractor will do will be to remove the concrete sidewalk. And I think probably the whole thing, because I would think it would waste time for him to just do panels where the trees are only. So they probably just come along and put them in a truck and take them to B&L somewhere.
Down to where?
Hmm?
Down to the end of the Gaston's property?
Yes.
That's actually worth bringing up.
Yeah, we showed him where the break would be.
Between Stanley and myself, so they wouldn't touch our driveway or down to your driveway.
The project will stop at that spot, because the engineer said to go down across the driveway, up and again and up, and the slope of the driveway, he says, it's just it would have to be a non-conforming type work. And he said it's non-conforming now. You'd say, well, it's less non-conforming, but he said it would be, he didn't want to have it done through that little spot. So the project would stop just short of that
Kind of
your
where
driveway.
our mailbox is, right?
Yeah.
And where the Stanley's tree is, the lovely.
Yes, essentially so, yeah.
I'm not totally sure if this is in your bailiwick, but the tree at the corner by the Ames house where
The Zelkova tree? Yep.
The hedge behind it comes so close to the sidewalk.
Yes.
When you're walking in either direction along there, you have to get off the sidewalk onto the lumpy, bumpy sort of grass.
Right.
And it's really...
Last year we spoke with her, that the thing is way over the line.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to cut it back, it would probably go a foot or more back toward the house. So her gardener woman did cut it back some, not much. So I think we would probably say to her, we're going to be starting the project, and we recommend you do some trimming. And I think the border it'd be a lot. There'd probably be no leaves on that side of it. I think if they...
Well, I mean, if it's trimmed back properly, it would be, in order for a hedge to get enough, for the whole hedge to get enough sunlight, you really ought to trim it like that, so that you don't have the dead stuff underneath, and you see a lot of hedges that are, look like that.
Right. Upside down wedge.
And it should be the other way. And that way you can walk and your elbows aren't going to hit the hedge. So, and if they're trimmed properly and at the right time of year, they'll come back fine.
They're very forgiving.
Yeah.
They are. That's a...
What time of the year is the optimal?
Depends on whether it's a flowering hedge, and it should be done right after the blossoms die, or in the winter time.
Late winter, like March.
Yeah.
Well, we may have to have them, just because there's going to be work there, just say you might consider doing something to give it a haircut.
Yeah.
Maybe not a big deal, but...
Do we know what it is? Is it privet or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is privet.
So it'll be flowering in the summer. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the part on the level with your head or with my head gets cut back. I have one working eye, and it's the one on the head side. But
Well, we won't get down to your place.
no, I'm talking about that hedge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I walk past it on my walks.
Yeah.
So when we were talking to Debbie, she was not in accord with, I mean, she didn't want the hedge touched. But her gardener said, you know, Mrs. Ames,
It's got to go.
gotta be cut back. So I think she sort of resigned to the fact that it's,
Well, we can mention it and just say,
And
you know,
ask
actually it's over the line, so I guess we could do what we want,
well,
technically.
yeah,
But we would rather have her gardener.
Of course,
gardener,
which they did.
as opposed to us
who
doing
was
it.
in accord with
Yeah.
what we wanted to do. Yeah.
I don't know if we could talk to her directly instead of getting Mrs. Ames fired up.
Well, I would guess that
If you look at it from above, it goes next to the sidewalk fine, and then it swings over next to it at the end.
That's
So
right.
it's really out of alignment.
Yeah.
It should be moved
I
back.
think it probably, on that end, I think it has more sunshine.
On
And
the
that's
west end?
why, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's why it grows much
No, the east end.
denser there.
the east end,
Where
right?
the remaining tree is.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking of Lieutenant River Lane.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
That's
about?
on the east side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Megan, she understands that, when they come, they can have all the time they need to proceed to do their work. If the contractor starts in the 28th, you know, probably a couple of days, they'd have those panels out of there, and she should be able to get going, because then they want to start at the west end of the project and come east.
Okay.
So she's got to stay ahead of them. So once you get to Zelkova, now you've got a little more breathing room. You get up toward Reed, probably, and hopefully. So let's see. I guess the budget is still going to be very tight. We had thought of some concessions that might with Bartlett, but it doesn't look like we're going to have much success there. So it appears that we likely will, if the only saving grace would be if Kelowna goes more rapidly than planned, they might not charge the full sum. I don't think it's a lump sum contract. And the root shaving and all, we're going to review the Bartlett write-up, because if it's so many dollars an hour, if we have one less tree, for instance, that Norway goes away, instead of 8 trees, it'll be 7. And I think when her proposal was made up, there were probably even more trees. So we could have a session with her, and once they pull the panels, they'll know more what they're looking at.
Yeah, what the situation is.
And if we can, in some cases, like with that hornbeam, we might be able to have the land made higher as you go past that tree, and you know, do things like that to minimize the depth that would be required normally.
Sorry to interrupt. Was the scope of the project originally to go down to Robbins, like across?
Right, but
and so has that been traded for something else? Because that's not an insignificant number of feet.
I know. Well, Wade said that the proposal for the bidders stopped where it's planning to stop. It wasn't the whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay,
that wasn't in the bid book as all the way down to the other sidewalk.
Oh, I see.
Now, and I think I don't know if we got a copy, I think Martha may have the full copy of stuff.
Of what? What?
The map of where the project stops and so forth, but
Oh, yeah.
I think the thing that was available showed it did not go all the way down.
No, they just talked about the duration. Robin just asked, would the road be closed?
No.
Oh, I thought it said on it.
Well, what he said is he's gonna have, I asked him and he said he'd have a dump truck and a small excavator.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the panels, I believe they'd probably start heading east, and then, I don't know whether they have something to grab or what, but they could put the stuff in the bucket and put it in the truck. We even arranged to have them store equipment up at the Art Academy, but he said, I mean, we've just got a couple of things, I don't think we'll have to do that. But we may, depending on what they have in mind, if they can park where it's not on, in the way and so forth.
Or maybe it'll slow people down.
Yeah.
They're currently doing the sidewalks in New London company. Mm-hmm.
This company, or, oh, I see.
Are they the ones called low cost? I mean, I remember when there was the list of proposals, and they were definitely, by a lot of money, they were the cheapest.
The low bidder.
So
They did a great job.
it probably, if we don't get any more economies, we may have to go back to the Selectmen and Board of Finance for something relatively minor, but it's hard to say. It might be something like, at this point, it could be $7,000 or $8,000, that sort of thing. But if the contractor came in less than expected, that might help us. But I think we've gotten some concessions out of the engineer, and Bartlett, it seemed like there wasn't much we can do there, except by going tree by tree and trying to calculate the number of hours. And
Well, there's less trees now than in the last proposal that I have
There
seen.
are fewer
There's less
trees, yeah.
True. So I think in one of them,
They'll have to be even.
it had so many hours times so many dollars and
Yes,
stuff.
yes, that
So-
was the original.
Yeah.
Very original one.
Yeah, so we may have to speak with her and say, you've got to revise this because that was based on more trees and so forth.
Is there, was there budgeting for, I remember discussion about replanting some trees. Is there budgeting for that? Smaller flowering or?
That'll be post-project, I think, at this point, because if we had like a cushion of 40 or 50,000, we could be a little generous, but we're just with the direct people. And I know you've been speaking to a couple of them about subsequent trees, but it might be something we'd have to ask for separately, because
Or wait until next year for a few, because our budget is small.
Will that be a contentious issue as to what type, or?
Oh, no. We work with the homeowners with trees.
Oh.
Yeah, we do. We work with them.
Yeah.
Well, you've already
Obviously, we know, in fact, I suggested for this tree, if it came, somebody asked me this morning, and I said a flowering dogwood would look nice to have a flowering tree. But then when I went home and looked, dogwoods have very low tolerance to road salt.
Yeah.
But I think
And it's also an understory tree, so it would be right out in the sun. So we always do a lot of research.
Oh, I'm sure.
Plant trees,
Yeah.
I think it would be smart to try to plant things behind the sidewalk instead of between the sidewalk and the...
Well,
Definitely.
Yeah. Because you look at some of those trees, and and people who park along Ferry Road for church and for the other
The food stuff.
food pantry and musical masterworks, and they tend to get as far toward the sidewalk as
Yes,
possible,
they do.
and you see that, you know, the root systems are just exposed and bare, and so it's, and damaged, so.
Yeah.
And a snow plow or something.
Yeah, and the snow plow hits them if it's a big snow.
Yeah, that street is really tight. There was conversation about could we have better parking, but maybe once you get past McClade, it gets flatter, but that's kind of far away from the church area, so people don't usually park that far down, except for big events.
The event Saturday or Sunday must have been a huge event, but I've never seen it go further down Lime Street and further down Ferry, and on both sides, and it really was a one-lane road at that point.
Oh, I know.
Concerned, I mean, I know that's not for this meeting, but I was just concerned about doors opening and people speeding through there, and, you know.
Well, even these fire trucks are wider than you think, so if people are imprudent and you have the fire truck might not be able to pass through there, so.
It was tight.
That David Good's funeral?
Oh, a funeral. Maybe that was what it was.
Well, the church was packed also on Sunday afternoon for Musical Masterworks, and so it probably was also Saturday.
That was the final one, I think.
Yeah, Saturday evening. Yeah, it's the last one for this year.
Yeah. So, I think the recommendation of the boards of selectmen and finance, we could maybe attach a schedule and just say that there may be a need for some money. We can't quantify it yet, and if they just be open to something, there's not much, once we shave this down as much as we can, the only wild card would be whether Kelowna comes in under their number.
And when Bartlett revises.
That's true. Yeah.
Their proposal.
Yep. So we'll work on the Bartlett thing.
And they're, as far as we know, they're the only people who do root shaving.
Yes. In fact, Martha, at our last meeting, I guess, she said she would go out and look for other tree companies, and she couldn't find any.
Yeah, but you've got, what's his name on Library Lane? Peter Edmondson from...
he's right here.
He's right here.
Right there.
Here, yeah. And then...
I talked with Peter. He was not familiar at all with shaving. When we first announced the project, and of course, the tree commission was very concerned about the trees. I did a lot of research, and I found tree shaving, which I'd never heard of. Our tree warden, Tom Degnan, had never heard of it. Peter Edmondson had never heard of it. Wow. I mean, it's a unique process. So at that time, another arborist from Bartlett was that we worked with him. So I asked him, he said, I don't really know about it, but I'll call North Carolina, where our main office is, where they have test plots, and they do all of these new techniques. And sure enough, they gave him a lot of information. And they're the only company that we could find that does this. So when I talked with his name was Nicholas Vallis. He's moved on. He's now a vice president.
Oh, really?
And when I talked with last week with Megan, who represented now, they have a crew that works at Yale University, and they've done tree shaving, because I was concerned about having a crew that had experience in doing this. No one's ever heard of it, so how do you look at them when they're, observe them when they're doing it and know if they're doing a good job or not a good job? So she said she's going to pull in the crew from Yale.
And not to take too much of your time, but what the heck is it?
It's shaving the root top down instead of cutting more roots. They shave the top of it. And that way they minimize the amount of roots that are, you know, the anchors on the tree, so. Then they cover it with gravel.
Before they do that, they have air excavation. So it's like you take your tire pump with a valve, and you go and blow the
Soil.
dirt away from the roots so they can see more accurately. And she was relating a story that this one I guess somebody in the company saw a movie about with bombs. They were using compressed air to get soil away from the bomb without exploding it.
Yeah.
And he said, well, gee, if it can be moving dirt like that, maybe we could do tree roots. So that's kind of where it came from. So.
Took a lot of work to find them, but
Now, if
we can't guarantee anything, that's for sure.
If we need 10 inches and the root is, you know, just 4 inches below the surface, shaving, you could shave half of it, you're not really doing enough, so that's...
It depends when they pull the tablets.
So then, we talked to them about, in a 5-foot panel, a 5-inch panel is given, but maybe the 8-inch could be shrunken. Or we said, could you make the panel in this particular place for 3 inches? And maybe we have to replace it in a few years, but, you know, it might save the tree. So it'll be a lot of field work to see what can be done.
Yeah, we asked if we...
They're just not going to go make it uniform the whole way.
I see.
It has to be ADA compliant, so the 3-inch panel may not, but it was a suggestion, just 2 or 3 tablets in front of the tree, you know, next to the trees. Maybe all they would have to do is lift the tablet and put in a new 3-inch one, but we don't know if that...
Do you compromise, though, after just a couple of years, after all that work and money?
Yeah. Well, so the next task is to get consensus on that tree near Air and Reed, and
have Tom look at it.
Yeah, and get that all sequenced out.
Could that postpone the start?
I don't think so. I mean, I hope not, because if we get this resolved, posted, let's say, first of the week somewhere, then 10 days. So if you're at the 16th, and nobody objects, that's fine. If you need to do a hearing type thing, that, I don't know how quickly you can schedule that, but if they start at the west end, that tree isn't at the west end, so it might be that you still have more than a few days left tight. So there we are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to have to throw yourselves a giant party when this sidewalk is done.
Yeah.
Probably more effort has gone into this than...
Well, technically, it is a town tree. So if a neighbor said, over my dead body, then, you know, we would have to make the decision
To shoot him?
shoot the tree.
Oh, shoot the tree. Oh.
No, we'll get another one of those delivery trucks and ram it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I know somebody at Federal Express.
Yeah.
Quest, yeah.
I think that, and that, I guess the next one is other business that might be, someone might think about. If not,
I don't have anything further.
I don't either.
we could
Discuss
say the magic words.
adjournment.
Adjournment.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
5:19.
Yes.